almost just even accountability, right? So if you need coaching as you're working on your business plans, definitely reach out. We're happy to help. Lisa, I can get you some inspiration to work on your project for sure. So you'll see a lot of our programs and services here. I won't go through all of them. One of the things we'll talk about today is Live Plan, which is our business planning software. It's awesome. And it usually costs money, but if you're a client of the Women's Business Center, we're able to provide it to you for free, and we'll take a look at that later in case it's something you're interested in. On the right, you can see we do an annual Women Who Own It Awards, and if you look right here, that's Kelly Tate from the station. She is one of our past clients, and she's just a wonder, right? Big in Fulton. And so we have all types of access to traditional, non-traditional capital. We get tons and tons and tons of calls about, I need money for startup, how do I find it, what's available, and we have lots of options for people, especially those who might have some credit challenges. So we really help people find non-traditional capital to do business startup. We have lots of workshops. You guys clearly know about them because you're on one, but make sure you follow our page. We've got all kinds of cool stuff going on. And then of course, lots of PPP and COVID relief right now. So I just like to talk a little bit about our outcomes so you can kind of see where we're at. In the last 4 years, we've launched, and now it's about 65 businesses. I'm pretty sure this is an old slide. And there's some of our Fulton-based businesses that we've worked with. And we've helped out, this is the capital infusion I was talking about, because the big thing here is our average loan amount that our clients are seeking is about $40,000, but we've got some really big ones in there that skew those numbers. So when we're looking at capital for a business under 100,000, the average amount that we help is 17,000. So the majority of our businesses that we're starting started for less than $20,000, and that's pretty much the norm. Depending on what you're doing. So again, you don't have to be seeking a huge loan amount. You don't have to have great credit. We can typically find an option for any business that's starting up. Okay, and you guys, it's just the two of you, so this can totally be conversational. If you have questions, just shoot them at me. And so, first I always talk about the purpose of the business plan. Like, why the heck are you taking the time to write this? I use my example a lot. So I had a business for 7 years that I sold off before I took this role, and I did everything wrong, everything. So I always use a lot of my own examples about how I didn't write a business plan and I didn't really take the time to understand my financials and things like that. And how different my life could be right now if I if I had done those things, right? So you do the business plan because it's a roadmap to your business. Tiffany was talking about her business. Is it going to be a bar, Tiffany, or is it going to be more manufacturing?
It's actually going to be a drive-through. It's you make it as you go, and it's just a drive-through. They come in and order it and leave. Cool.
So exactly. So in your roadmap to your business is how the heck is this going to work? And how much is it going to cost me, right? So it lines all that out, because as you guys know, as entrepreneurs, your brain is like going 8 million different ways all the time. Like you're like, well, maybe I'll just exit here off the road and check out what's at this gas station, or maybe I'm going to take this back road. So it really lines out your route to get to where you want to be. It's a resume for your business, especially if you're going to access capital or go to a bank. They're going to want to see that you know what you're talking about and that your numbers make sense. It spells out your purpose and vision, and this will be big if you guys are planning on doing the pitch competition. You really want to be able to, explain quickly what is your purpose and your passion behind this. And so a business plan gives you that opportunity, helps you to understand the financial health of your business, which is by far the most important part. And then, of course, like I said, you're going to have one if you want to get any type of startup loan for your business. So we're going to go over the basics of a business plan, and business plans can be more complicated if you want. But we're going to go over, what should be in your basic plan. Okay, we're going to go through each section here. So the very first step, you would think this is kind of silly, but people have trouble with this. How many times have you talked to someone about a business they want to start, and it's like a 10-minute dialogue where you still get to the end and you have no idea what they're actually doing? So it's just a one sentence, almost like an elevator pitch, where you can say, this is what my business is. So, you know, the Women's Business Center is a nonprofit entity that helps start businesses for women. Like, you want to be able to just say that like that when you're at a networking event or you're at the chamber or something like that. And that is really going to be the baseline of your whole business plan is where, okay, this is what we are, now how are we going to do it? And again, this seems really simple. A lot of people have trouble with this because many times it'll be like they have about 8 million ideas for their one business and then they don't know where to start, right? Okay, so one thing about a business plan that will set you apart from 90% of the other plans that your banker or your pitch competition sees is a cover page. I know that sounds really silly again, but if you take the 5 minutes to whip up a cover page and go to Staples and buy that little $1 plastic cover, holy crap, all of a sudden you look like the most professional person that's ever walked into the Central Bank in Fulton, right? So, so this is an example of one. It's actually out of Live Plan that we'll look at later. And what's cool about this is we run a program in the women's prison in Missouri. And actually one of our inmates wrote this business plan and she actually physically drew this logo and then we digitized it for her. So that's kind of neat. And so that's just an example of a very basic cover page. Again, you don't have to have a fancy logo, but something with your name, the name of your business, good to go. So the executive summary, this is something that you're actually going to do at the very end of your plan, okay? So once your plan is totally done, you're going to create an executive summary, which is just a one-pager about what is in the book. The reason you do this is because the majority of people are not going to read your entire business plan, right? They're going to kind of leaf through it and they're going to go over that executive summary. So you definitely want to make sure to have your business concept in there, who your target market is, which again, we're going to talk about these things, and then some type of financial projection visual. Again, you can find Excel spreadsheets that do some of this, but Live Plan again is what you're looking at here. It produces really nice graphs for you, but it's really important that you have this executive summary because, I mean, Shane, were you there for the pitch competition last year? It's just sometimes oh, you weren't? Okay, so sometimes they'll come in with a straight up novel of a business plan, and that's just not what you want in this situation. You need something that people can go, oh, okay, and have it figured out. Okay, so the first section of a business plan is what we refer to as the opportunity. So with your business, everything you're doing is you have an opportunity of some sort. You're either solving a problem, you are making a current service or product better, or you're fulfilling some type of niche, right? So you're going to start describing, this is the problem that there is in the community, and this is my solution to the problem. So like if I was using the Women's Business Center as a business, I would say, you know, the problem is women try to start businesses and they get off on the wrong foot, and you know, there's a 30% better chance of business survival with a mentor, things like that. And the Women's Business Center will serve that market. So you just want to talk in this section about what problem you're solving. And later in the slides, we'll talk a little bit about how you can basically Google some business plans that other people have created in your industry and get inspired by some of the things that they wrote, right? But don't plagiarize. And then, you know, why the heck are you doing this? Of all people, why are you doing this? Everybody typically has some type of connection to their idea. You know, either you're passionate about, I have a client right now who just launched a turmeric business, you know, the herb. And she's just very, very, very passionate about it after, you know, watching some of the benefits with her daughter who had type 1 diabetes. And so that's, you know, her why. So putting a little why in there is great. One thing that we always talk about is all of us have been trained through high school and college or whatever to write these lengthy, you know, as long as you can papers. With business plans, drop all of that. Don't do any of that. Keep it to the point and facts only, and as concise as possible, okay? So the next section, of course, is how are you going to do this? And you guys, even though you're preparing a business plan for other people to look at, it's really for you to sit down and think through these questions of how the heck am I going to do this? And so that's what this section is for. We're going to go through each of these little pieces, but these are the pieces of the execution section, okay? So it's your market, your marketing plan, your competition, and all that stuff, and we'll go through each of these pieces quickly here. So, okay, what do you think is, I know you guys are all muted, but I'm sure you know the answer. When clients come into me, or one of the coaches, I say, who is your target market of this business? And what do you think they say at least half of the time? Everyone. Everyone needs my product. It's not everyone, okay? Every business has a market of some kind. And so it's, you know, are you, you know, like with Tiffany, she's clearly going to be targeting people who drink, right? Not people who don't. So whatever that market is, you want to describe that, whether it's a certain demographic of income, whether it's parents, all that type of stuff, and then what size is that market. So I'm going to show you some really cool places you can find some of this information that's just out on the web for your business plans. So the first one is, this is linking to the Columbia Library, but I'm pretty sure Fulton's library is connected to this same system. And so public libraries just have insane amount of information and resources available. So one thing I show people is you can go into research and learn, and there is one thing that's called Reference USA here. First of all, look at all of these options. I mean, you can basically give yourself a PhD in whatever you want to do in here if you just dig a little bit. Reference USA gives you actual breakdowns and addresses and things of people in your market. So you can log in there. And again, I'm just giving an overview. These are a little bit complicated to use. So if you actually want to get and schedule an appointment with a coach, and we'll go through it a little bit. So once it loads here, so yeah, you can go into all these businesses, and what's neat about this is you can do research on businesses in your industry in the market you're trying to serve. So like with Tiffany, if she moves to Louisiana, she wants to know how many bars or restaurants or liquor stores or whatever are in the area. You can search all of that in here. So it's just a big database of all of the US businesses. It's just moving really slow right now, so I'm not sure we'll even dive too far into it. But you see this where you can go into advanced search and then use all of these various filters to find the businesses that you're competing with or that are already in your target market, okay? So that's a cool thing you can look into, and all you need is your library card. Another really cool thing here is called Claritas 360, and I can shoot you guys this PowerPoint afterwards so you can look at some of this stuff and through the links. But this one is by zip code. So for example, what this does is gives you a breakdown of the people living in your community. So if I do, you know, 65203, which is where I live, it tells you right here the type of families that are living there, and also you can come down here and you can do a breakdown of households by income. So for example, if you're setting up, it should be popping up, but again, my internet must be very slow tonight. If you were, you know, setting up a daycare, for example, you would be able to go to your bank and say, look here, there's this percentage of families that have children under 5 in this community. So it's a great, I really wish it would work right now. I don't know why it's not. Usually it pops up some graphs right here that shows you this breakdown. But again, I'm sorry that, oh, there it goes, of course, now that I did that. But there'll be graphs that show you the actual breakdown of your particular zip code. So it's a great place to get that target market research to improve your concept, basically. So again, those links are in the PowerPoint you can check out. Then you can do things as basic as traffic counts and surveying people. People do that all the time, and that's free and easy to do to get counts of, you know, how many people are going into a certain shopping center. You know, I've had clients that go and sit in the shopping center that they want to enter their retail business and do a count of how many cars have gone to the gas station or whatever. It sounds crazy, but it's really good to know, and then you can base your model on that. Oops. So this is a big one, right, is your marketing plan. And I'll tell you that this is probably the most common thing that we get calls about at the Women's Business Center is, I don't understand my marketing. I don't know what to do. So we are putting together some boot camps for that with some people who are experts. But in your business plan, you want some basic knowledge of how are you going to reach your customers. So when I think back on the pitch competition last year in Fulton, one lady was going on and on about all the radio and TV spots she was going to do. Well, that's just not feasible at the beginning of the business. It's extremely expensive to do those things. And so you can certainly put them in here as long as you're including those costs in your startup costs, right? But for the most part, most businesses are going to start with some type of networking groups, referrals, word of mouth, or maybe some print. But right now, clearly, we're in a very digital world and doing a lot of new virtual things. So one thing I would talk about in here a ton is getting involved in the chamber, in the Women's Business Center type of stuff. We have a class, for example, every Tuesday morning. It's called Coffee and Conversation. People get on and they share about their businesses, and you would not believe like the number of cross referrals that are happening in that group now. So talking about those things and the things you're going to do to attract business to your new business. A big one is sales strategy. So any banker, if you go in to get a small business loan, they're going to say, how are you coming up with your pricing? And we work on pricing quite a bit at the Women's Business Center because it's just something we see as women. We typically underprice our services. So a lot of coaching I do is explaining to women why their prices are too low and that they're not going to lose all their customers if they raise their prices a little bit. So you just want to talk about what your pricing looks like and how you came up with that. So there's lots of different options. Maybe you're a premium product. I have a client who is a premium nail salon in Columbia, and we knew going in that her prices were going to be a little bit higher than everyone else's, but you bet that they're sold out like months in advance. So if you're providing a premium product, then you can charge a premium price, and you can explain that. Are you a low cost option? Are you competitively priced but offer some type of bonus? So this is the section where you'll talk about how you came up with that pricing. And then it seems silly, but how are you going to accept payment? This is a big one right now because of everybody needing e-commerce. So if you have an e-commerce site or you're putting a website up, are you going to use PayPal on the back end of that? Are you going to use Square? And about this point in the class, when I teach this class, and I usually teach this class at a bank with about 40 to 50 people in it, I can see people just like starting to glaze over. They're like, I don't know what to do. And so that right there is where you can, have pause and say, maybe I should talk to a coach about the different types of ways I can accept payment and which one's going to work best for me. I literally just went through this with one of my clients. She just has a farmer's market stand, but we went through all the different ways she could accept payment to find, which one was going to be the most cost effective for her. So that's the kind of stuff we work on in our coaching sessions. Okay, so who are your direct competitors, right? With whatever business, you want to talk about who are your competitors. And so what's different? What's your advantage over your competitor? And a big one is, are your target customers currently using a competitor? So if you have a cleaning service or you're starting one, then your clients are typically already using someone. So how will you be different and attract them away? So that's the kind of stuff that you will put in that section, and as well as your indirect competitors. So indirect competition is like, if you have the daiquiri business, then an indirect competitor would be like the grocery store where they could just go in and get the stuff to make their own, product, things like that. But, it doesn't have to be too in-depth on this section, just really, really noting about who your local direct competitors are. Where is your business going to be located? A lot of times right now it's going to be online, or it's going to be some type of virtual thing. But if not, have you signed a lease? Are you planning on it? Where are you going to be located at? type of technology are you going to have in your business? So this is just all the things that you will need to operate day to day to produce your product. So you would put all of that into the operations section. This part's pretty easy. This is the next section. So we're done with execution. And I know I'm going super fast, guys. And so I hope I'm not overwhelming you. And again, I'll send all this to you. But right here, you're going to be talking about your company information. So first of all, you're going to be talking about the legal structure of your business. 99% of the time, you're either going to be a sole proprietor or you're going to be an LLC, right? And if you don't know, that's something we can certainly talk about. And you don't really need to know those things until you're ready to start your business. So like Tiffany, if you're not planning on starting for another year, you don't need to run out and register an LLC just yet. You can do that when you're about ready. The other thing I always talk about here is when you are ready to register with the state or get your tax ID or things like that, definitely contact the Women's Business Center, the chamber, someone like that. There is just like scams galore, like everywhere. So we get people that come in and they say, well, I already have an LLC. Yeah, I went online and did it. It cost $900. And we, almost fall out of our chair because it costs $52 and takes about 5 minutes on the state of Missouri website to pay the state. So just a heads up when you guys do go to start those businesses that you don't pay for things that you don't have to. And almost everything to do with registering your business is free, okay? So here again, you'll put, do you have any partners in your business? What's the ownership percentage of those partners? Are you a minority or women-owned business? Things like that. This is also your opportunity to brag about yourself. You're talking about, this is why you should trust me to do this business because I have this experience or this credential. It's just a great little place to just say, here's the degrees I have, or here's my experience that I've got. Like we had a guy who is starting, let's see, what was his thing? He had 20 years as a bartender, which was awesome, but like it had to do with he was starting a coaching business. I can't think of a better person that would be a coach than a bartender. Like they can talk to anyone. They can really relate to almost anyone. So right there, that's a great example of, he doesn't have a college degree or anything like that, but that's excellent stuff to put in here about his experience in life of why he's going to start this business. Bartenders are basically free life coaches as it is. And then you'll also put in the advisor. So if you were working with the Women's Business Center or something like that, it's a great place to just put it there. Or, we have a lot of people who start businesses. Oh, my dad, I have a guy right now who's a gunsmith and his dad was a gunsmith and things like that. So you can put that kind of stuff in there. So of course, here comes the big daddy, right? This is the thing that anybody giving you guys money will care about. And honestly, what you should care about the most is, how is this business going to work? I have an example of this with a woman in Colombia that wanted to start a barbecue sauce business. And, we went through her financials about 72 times because at the end of the day, the way she was planning on doing it, she was going to make like 10 cents per 5 bottles or so. I mean, it was not going to be worth it to her. So even though in her mind, it sounded like it was going to be really great, until we actually worked in every single cost that would be in those financials, then you don't get a true picture. So this is the opportunity to do that. And so we'll talk through these sections of your financial plan. So the first thing, you're going to want to know is your startup costs. So how we define that is every single dollar that you're going to need to spend before you open on your first day of business, okay? So that's going to be your insurance, inventory, rent, all that kind of stuff that you're going to need to open on day one. And then also any licenses or permits you're going to need. So like you would need a liquor license, Tiffany, what's that cost? Things like that. The next section, of course, everyone's favorite section, the revenue. And so that's going to be your anticipated sales by month for each relevant line item. So what that means is, like when we were opening the nail salon, like I mentioned, we had line items through their plan of, manicures, pedicures, all the different things that cost different amounts of money. And then how many of those they thought that they would do every month. I have a client who is a landscaper. So when we did his plan, because he had to buy a bunch of equipment, so he did a small business loan. you know, he has a very seasonal business. You know, he's only doing work about April to September. So we had to show that his business would be able to cash flow to pay that loan all year, even though he was only really making money during those 5 months, right? And you want to have at least a year projected for your business. So like I said, the life plan option will have this, but if you don't go that route, there's tons and tons of Excel spreadsheets that you can Google, or I can help you find to do this on your own. So one thing that's really neat, and I harp on this all the time in my classes, is like, you guys, we have the internet. Like, we don't have to come up with this stuff just out of thin air. So really, with any industry that you're in, you can Google startup sheet or a startup cost worksheet in your industry and find something. So like in this example, I just Googled startup cost pizza place, and it gave me, you know, a fictional, but like the average startup cost for a pizza place. And so, I mean, really with anything, you can do that or find something similar. And the other reason that this is a good practice is because it'll show you this big list of all the things that you might need to think about. Like, a lot of people forget to think about gas for vehicles, or you know, an annual license, or any type of organizational dues you need for any type of memberships and things like that. So you want to get all of that sorted so you know the true cost. A big part of this is if you're going to get a small business loan, what's the worst thing that could happen is you go get a small business loan and then it wasn't enough money. Oh, then you're really in tough shape. So that's why you really want to think through all of your startup costs really in detail before you take that money, right? So this is where the next section would be you're working through the costs and expenses of your business. So there's a difference between direct costs and expenses. Expenses are going to be things that you pay for every single month, whether you make a sale or not. So even if you know, sell 1 daiquiri versus 1,000 daiquiris, you still got to pay that rent every month. So that's an expense. So we really look at expenses as those things that the bills are going to keep coming, no matter if you are doing good or bad in your business. Direct costs are going to be the supplies that go into your product. So again, with a daiquiri business, we're looking at ingredients, we're looking at cups, all that kind of stuff that the more you sell is the more you're going to need of that product. And so those are direct costs. And those are typically going to be 2 different categories on your financial plan, okay? So again, it's really easy to just Google what's the average monthly expenses of, you know, a dog groomer is this particular example. You can see what across your industry, what are some of the typical monthly expenses people are incurring, and what those average amounts look like. Again, on your public library, there's a lot of resources in the business resource section that have some of those things as well. A big one, of course, is personnel and wages. So that's just any costs associated with having employees. And most of our businesses that come in are typically not going to hire employees right away. So it's not something that might not even be in their startup plan, but it's something to think about down the road. Now, if you're you know, operating some type of food establishment or something like that, you're probably going to have those type of employees right away. So then you've got to be thinking about things like workman's comp, if you're going to do any type of health insurance and things like that. So that would go into that section. And then, of course, financing needed. A big one we get all the time is no, the bank will not loan you the money to pay yourself. We get a lot of people who say, well, I'm just going to quit my job and I'm going to take out one of those business loans and I'll just pay myself with that for a while. And that's just not how it works. They're not going to fund your salary. So when you're thinking about your startup costs, don't put your own salary in there in terms of a loan product, okay? And then, like I mentioned earlier, a big thing I see is people come in and they're embarrassed about their credit, or you know, they're in debt or have some type of financial issue. And I just always say, you guys, it's literally everyone. Like everyone, I don't think we ever have clients maybe once a year that are like, yeah, I'm in great shape. Here's some money for startup. I'm ready to go. There's always challenges. So I just try to talk about, you know, if that's you, then don't worry about it, and just be honest with your mentor or your coach or your banker, and they'll help you through it. Okay, so that was in a nutshell the template, but I want to show you guys Life Plan, and then I did link or list a lot of the resources that are going to be available to you, really no matter what state you're in, right? So even though these right here are mid-Missouri specific, basically any semi-large to large community, and by that I even mean, you know, Fulton, Jefferson City, are going to have resources available to you. So definitely get involved with those wherever you're living. And then I wanted to show you guys Live Plan. Actually, I think I already have it pulled up. This is such a fun resource, you guys. We used to have, where is it? Here it comes. Okay, so we used to only have 30 licenses for Live Plan, and that sounds like a ton. And now we have 90, and we max them out all the time because we have so many people working on business plans. And that's just how awesome this software is. So it basically walks you through all of the pieces that we just talked about. So like if I was going into this test company here, oh, I'm in a pitch. So it's just basically a big tutorial of how to do this, and everything works on its own. So for example, if we go into that forecast section like we just talked about, like there's the revenue section that I was going through. So we would say, okay, we're gonna do, let me think of a, if I was talking about my landscaping guy, right? You just go through, you can talk about, okay, I charge by the hour, and I am going to charge for 75 hours per month, and you put it in. And so I'm just whipping through this, but I just want to show you. So it starts to build these graphs, okay? And so what's neat is you just keep putting all that in, and then after you've done that, through revenue and expenses using that knowledge that we just talked about, it builds all of your financial projections for you. You don't have to do any of that. What's cool about that is then, okay, if you have a base price in your brain for what you want to charge, and you do all of this, and then you go to your profit and loss statement and you're like, well, wait a minute, I'm only gonna make like $14,000 a year. Well, then right there, you already know you've got a problem. You either need to put your expenses down or your revenue up, right? So it's just a really cool tool. Again, we offer it free through the Women's Business Center. So if that's something you're interested in, give us a call when you're ready to start working on it, and we can hook you up with that. And I can kind of show you like some of the, I'm going to show you like a completed one. This one is, so you can see like this, what this lady did, and then her financial plan. Hers is crazy, but if you go into, you can see how it produces your full financials for you. And then you're able to download it, and it provides you a completely formatted business plan ready to go. So like one thing with me is like, how would I, you know, type this up, and how do I put all the formatting in? The software does all of it for you. Like, look how professional this looks. And all she did was input information. So it's a great tool. And I know, Shane, you're like, wait a minute, I didn't know you had this. So this, you can also hook me up with your clients as well. It just makes it look so professional. And I'll tell you right now that our bank partners love these business plans. They love them. Lastly, we teach a class called Launch You. There's actually one coming up in Jeff City, which will be an in-seat one, shockingly, in October. So it is free. It's a scholarship-based program. So if you guys are interested, you basically go through the whole business plan process from beginning to end and leave with that full business plan. So it's a really cool class, and you meet tons and tons of people. So if you're interested in that, let me know and I will get you signed up.
Is that during business hours, or when is that?
It will be, no, it's in the evening. It's Tuesdays and Thursday evenings from 5:30 to 8, I believe. So it is a time commitment, it really is, but I'll tell you what, it is a pretty awesome class. A lot of our, I would think our strong, Champion Pet Salon in Fulton, she went through Launch You before she started.
Awesome.
So she's a good example of that. And like I said, it's just a great, you meet tons of resource partners like attorneys and bankers and CPAs and stuff that want to help you with things like that. So, so yeah, hopefully that was not too much information I just threw at you. It's an exercise, you guys, and it really, when you sit down and do a business plan, it might only take you like an hour or two, and it'll be the best time you ever spent on your business, especially those financial projections. I mean, knowing exactly where your pricing is going to land you is a big part of it. So yeah, how are you guys feeling? A lot of info.
Yeah, but it's great. You know, I think what you said about the library, so underutilized to find information. Like I wouldn't have thought about how to find who else would be doing what I'm thinking about doing or what I've done.
Yeah.
I think that's an incredible resource to think about.
Yeah, definitely.
Think about, am I the only one that can solve this problem, or are there hundreds of me already doing it? Right. Maybe I need to pivot. So that's great.
Very cool. Yeah, absolutely. Tons of information on the libraries and just on Google in general. But a lot of the clients have a hard time, even figuring out what they're supposed to be Googling. So we just help them start there. Like, let's look at some market research. Oh, and also a lot of our bank partners have very, very, very expensive market research software and provide that kind of stuff too. So like, let me just pull one up real quick because they're super neat, because we certainly cannot afford this software. It's like if you've seen like the IBIS World ones and, oh shoot, what's the other big one? I mean, these things cost just like thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars a month. So like, I'm gonna open it up here. Okay. Where is that IBIS World one? Maybe. I've got a ton, I'm in one of my, oh, yeah, Vertical IQ is the other one. So let me screen share this. So this is really cool stuff. So this is one about like hair care industry. And what's neat about these reports is it will tell you the detail of like how much money the average consumer in your region spends on that particular product, right? So then you're able to see how much. I actually have a client I'm working with now who's also in Fulton that, he went on and found the average amount that people in Missouri spend on hunting, because he has some of that type of stuff going on. And then you're able to say, okay, if I know that much, well, and I think I can get 10% of the market share, because they're not all going to come there, then you actually have some, some meat behind those projections you're coming up with. So it's pretty neat. And so those are other things that, as you start diving a little deeper on your businesses, we can ask our bank partners to provide those type of stuff. Like, look at this, like on a beauty salon, it'll tell you what the breakdown of revenue is. So if someone comes in and says, well, I think that, hair coloring is going to be 82% of my thing. Well, we can say, well, if we look at the average, we might need to knock that down a little bit. So it's just kind of neat that all this information is out there and that our partners will share it with us.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So if you guys need anything like that, please reach out at any time. Happy to help with anything. And even just provide, sometimes we're just cheerleaders, honestly.
So for someone to get connected with you, do they just give you a call, leave a message and say, I'd just like to talk to a coach through some ideas?
Yeah, you can either go to our website and just do a contact us, or just we have someone on the phone, normal hours, 8 to 5 to set appointments. So usually our assistant will just ask, what you're kind of working on, and then she'll pair you with the coach that we feel has the best expertise in that particular area. So that's how that's working right now.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
You guys, do you have many male clients?
Yeah, actually we do. It's about 15 to 20% every year.
Okay. All right.
Yeah. And actually I love those guys because they're comfortable coming to a women's business center. So they're usually like really, positive, forward thinking men. They're not the guys that are going, I'm never going to that women's business center. So it's a great resource. And then even if someone is not interested in going to the Women's Business Center, the Small Business Development Centers are also a great resource. I in particular, I think we're a little bit better, but that's how it is.
Love it.
Yeah. So yeah. Well, I hope that you guys, have success in whatever you work on if you end up moving forward with your businesses. And are either of you planning on doing the pitch competition in Fulton?
I haven't decided yet.
Okay.
Do it, Tiffany. You can do it.
It's so fun. I love pitch competitions. They're my favorite things. They're so fun.
Too. I've never competed, but I love watching them and being a cheerleader for others. And so yeah.
We always take pride in we always try to really prep our clients well, and it's because we take pride in if they win. I'm like, look at my show pony. They're so good. So I've got one in the bucket right now that I think it's going to be pretty good. So I'm happy to coach anybody though.
Well, that's great. I think I would definitely, set up an appointment just to talk through just some ideas for sure.
Absolutely, Lisa. I have a client, she just now launched this week, and we've been working literally for 2.5 years, and she just now moved forward. So
wow,
that's totally fine. Heck, I mean, I'm working on business ideas in my mind for 5 years down the road. So I think sometimes it's just helpful to talk to somebody about it.
Okay, awesome.
Cool. Can't wait. All right. Well, I will shoot these slides over to Shane so he can shoot them over to you guys. And then I hope you guys reach out whenever you're ready.
Yep.
okay.
And I recorded this webinar too, so we'll make that available probably on our Facebook page for sure, and maybe our website, callawaychampions.net. So
sounds good. Thank you.
Okay.
Thanks, guys.
Talk to you guys soon.
Thank you.
Bye.
See you.